So I'd like to welcome everyone to the 36th episode of Money Trees. I'm joined by an illustrious writer, a dedicated world builder, the curator connoisseur who is building one of the illest platforms in all of Web3 with Phlote. Hallways in the virtual garden. How are you doing today, G?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, man. Just happy to be here. Talk about an intro. Fuck. The cultural connoisseur or curation connoisseur. That shit's kind of hard.
Bro, it's
Makes me
it's
feel.
it's the when I so I love that. I love giving really good intros, but they're very honest for me where I'll sit and look and think about how the guest, quote unquote resonates in my mind. It's like when I see them, if I had to read something about them on a billboard or in a crazy article, how would I write about them? And
Mm.
it's larger than life because I feel like sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. And from our first conversation, the level of care you have for music, for artists, for the culture, your approach to the space, it all deserved hyperbolic speak, and so I hope that the
Word. No, I appreciate it, man. And I mean, um, yeah, when we met at Basel, um, it's cool, man. It's cool. I just, Uh, I like I like being straightforward with people. I like kind of um, getting right to the point, and then at the other end of the spectrum, I really like just listening, right? I like to really hear what people are saying and kind of gauge my energy based on the energy that they put out. So on this side, it's definitely something that we look at first, like one of the first real rules of Phlote is only good energy allowed, um, and we move accordingly from there.
yeah, I love that. It's interesting because I remember when we first spoke about float. Well, actually, you know what? I won't even go there with it. I'll pick back up on that thought. There was a I really love the bio that's currently the with Team Float's Twitter, and it's the emerging artist search engine. We find the best music on the internet and bring it to Web3 for you to invest in. It is such a engaging and clear description of your mission, your goal, and your approach to the space. I love that. And I don't know how long that's been there. Maybe I just never noticed it, but it is the most concise way I've seen Float described to this point. So whoever put that together, I think it was able to embody what you all stand for in two sentences. So shout out to that writer. But when you say the emerging artist search engine, I feel like I have had conversations with you, see AJ in the crowd, and so it might be a little easier for me to understand exactly what Float's building. Could you give us like the I don't want to say the elevator version, but just a shorter rundown of exactly what that bio is
Yeah,
or is
yeah,
about.
no, for sure. So what we're doing is sort of like a curation protocol, right? So um, either Web 2 or Web 3, there's a really big problem with the just the submission process being incredibly opaque for a lot of publications, whether that's in music, out of music. However, it's really hard for people to kind of figure out where to start and then what steps to take to kind of get to, let's say, a cover story, right? So we're starting in music because obviously there's so many musicians out here that are working incredibly hard in and out of Web3, and really, like when we talk about emerging artists in this space, you want to be transparent. You want to give them kind of a step by step process on how to go from point A to point B, and a lot of times that process can be really simplified down and just bringing a real clear value proposition to submissions, and kind of um, yeah, bringing that to not just Web 3, but just to the internet as a whole, right? So, um, the different tools that we're building, whether it's the, this search engine, or this the live float show, or whatever sort of mechanisms that we use, we kind of, at the North Star of this, really look at, just, making curation really available to the community, and giving the community a voice with the kind of consistent approach of, um, you know getting people amplified in a way that feels super organic, as opposed to maybe just one or two people holding the door open and letting in their friends, or letting in somebody that they like, right? So, like, especially with Web3, I think, um, you know the community is here, right? And they want to have a voice. So it's not so much us creating like a big platform, as much as it is creating a protocol or a process that then anybody can use to then help identify what their community wants.
Yo, it's beautifully said. You mentioned the live float show, which I think really rolls off the tongue, and I don't want this to turn into like like a flow promo, but this shit is fire. So we're gonna have to just chop on it. I think it's really important for people to understand what it is that you're building and really get context to the people behind it. Where I look at a lot of Web3 platforms and a lot of promises in the space that certain organizations or DAOs or companies are coming in and saying that they'll do. And I was having this conversation the other day where it's like, some of it feels to me when distribution companies would offer label services. And while there may be some distro companies that actually do, the majority of them don't. And just from my experience with you all, seeing what you're actually actualizing on, seeing the way you throw these events, seeing the way that you interact with the community, you really stand by what your mission is. And I think it's important for people to have more context around that and just have, as many different resources to be able to listen to you provide this education as to the way that you're approaching it. So the live float show, before it was held on Twitter Spaces, and I don't know if this was the first one on Gather, but I recently went to the one on Tuesday that was on Gather, and I'd never even heard of that platform, and it was another fire experience. I want to touch on your IRL pieces, but specifically with this live float show, how did this one come about?
So the whole, yeah, so the one in Gather, we always look at whatever we do and try to improve on it, right? So after every sort of thing, it's just like a rinse and repeat process, right? um we ask for as much feedback as possible. We want anybody in here, from Luca to Bob to just Mike. um if you have feedback for us, man, DM us, hit us up, tweet us. We're incredibly transparent and we have thick skin. We're not afraid to get better, right? And the only way we get better is by really working to make the experience better. And one of the things with Twitter Spaces was the sound, right? So the sound when you're playing a song isn't great. So we tried Twitch, we tried other platforms, and we ended up at Gather. We've known about Gather for a while, and it just seemed like the right platform to host the live float show, which is it's inherently something where we need really quality audio combined with engagement. So ending up at Gather was just it was just a good fit. But to be clear, I mean, this is a system that we can do anywhere, as long as it has great audio and the engagement is there.
Yo, you really can do it anywhere because I'm now thinking. Well, I wanted to touch on when you did it IRL, and I got to attend the one with Rocky Snyder and Jay Prob, and it was fire because you gave everyone the paddles with the 10, And I thought that was such a little ingenious touch to add in with the live vote, where if you actually were fucking with the record, it's like, yo, put it up. It reminded me of the dunk contest. It reminded me of just being able to have that kind of like judge interaction that makes it cooler than pressing a button, because I've had those at seats or just like raising your hand. What you guys did at OS NYC was amazing. Are there plans to bring that to other cities, or are we focusing on New York for now?
Yeah. So to back up a little bit, so the the reason we found we got to that point was Claude from Culture Hub curating Rocky into our system, and then from there, her going through the process and actually um, then curating other artists in, and us starting to work with Rocky, and then kind of the first IRL event we did with OSNYC was just a like a drop party, something where like her community could come out and we could really gauge, like we see a lot of like online community, but the real thing, real value is getting somebody to show up in January in New York where it's brick as fuck, and take an Uber or the train or whatever. And when we think about that, that to us is incredibly valuable. It feels the same as kind of spending, $200 on ETH to buy, somebody's NFT, right? It feels comparable. Comparable. It feels something that if somebody's going to put money to then get dressed and travel to a party, then they'll probably spend some money on an NFT, maybe, right? But you never know until you do it. So the first one was just a drop, and then moving into the second show, that was only the second one that we did there. We decided, man, the live float show would be pretty cool. It would be cool to see this, right? And again, I mean, it's a very simple process, right? It's you bring your submissions, we play the submissions live in front of an audience. That audience then engages or has a way to vote, and we don't count these things, right? So like, I'll never forget, I'm on stage, and Khufu, you were there, but I had somebody ask me, how are we doing this? How are we counting this, right? And we're not. We're not counting votes, right? We're gauging the energy the same way you would gauge energy at a concert. You know when a song hits, and when it hits, um, people will show you in their actions more than anything else. So we gauge it off the energy of the crowd, and it's sort of an homage to the Apollo and the way the Apollo used to gauge um, who moved on, or who was a star and who wasn't. And like I said before, they've had hits and misses because they booed Lauryn Hill, and Lauryn Hill went on to do phenomenal things. So we're not always going to have those hits, but I am very proud that we're able to give anybody that shows up to these shows a voice, to or a way to get their voice across. And then that, like I said, that can be done anywhere. So we're just constantly trying to figure out the best way to make that process better every time.
To me, art and analytics don't really go hand in hand. It feels more like an energy piece. So the fact that you allow, or well, no, that you've set up the vote in a way where it moves off of energy as opposed to like exact data, I think works. I think that it also highlights to me kind of a huge difference between like curation and gatekeeping, which with you guys, you mentioned that you give the artist a voice, which I think that comes in the sense of letting them be heard, literally giving them the opportunity to speak on their art, address the crowd. But you don't only provide ears or eyes. There's actually, a tangible continuation of attending this vote and getting the most energy from the crowd. You've done drops with glass, you've done drops with catalog. And to me, that's ill because it's like, yeah, okay, cool. It's great to get on a blog and great to get that attention, but then what actually happens next? What tools or resources are you given that allow you to continue furthering your career? How do you continue building this momentum up? And to your point, if somebody's willing to come out and potentially willing to dress up or spend X amount of dollars, if they come to this show and then they find somebody that they love and they want to contribute to this artist's career, you guys actually pave the way for them to do that. And
Yeah,
to me,
and
that's
not
oh
to
yeah,
cut you off,
no,
but
you're good.
to answer your question more directly, yes, we are doing it in different cities. Um, we're already working on DC. Um, shout out Nia, shout out Matt. Um, we're working with people, right? We're working with people in the community. We're working with local people. We're not just coming in and kind of uh, you know, buying our way into places. We want to, entrench ourselves within the local scenes. We want to, from my experience with the music world, the best places to find the most authentic music is sometimes not at the big venues in these cities, but the smaller locations. So really, yeah, we're 100% moving into other cities, with DC being the next, and probably Atlanta and Miami this year.
Yeah, that is extremely exciting. Part of Money Trees and just like what my goal with it is to plant seeds. And again, I had that conversation with you at Basel and wanted to know more. Then you bringing me into the float world has been incredible. I'm glad we got to talk and we'll be able to listen back and see just how far float goes because I know that you guys have incredible, incredible things on the horizon. While I
Yeah.
still have you though, Hallway, you
Mm.
yourself are quite the established curator, person, writer, many of the things that I addressed at the beginning, in your own right before you came to Float. And I think it's very interesting seeing the people that are, have. I'm trying to. It's funny. Melanie was talking about it a little bit on her curator call that you guys also host. That I think is a great idea. These conversations just need to be had more, and she touched on trying to separate or trying to get rid of using web 2 versus web 3, and I think there you still do require some level of identification. Anyway, my long roundabout point is you had success in the traditional music world from your well actually I
Yeah.
don't even want to misquote that. Can you talk a little bit on your background because I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking ill and there's
Yeah.
a reason
Yeah.
why
Yeah. So
you are going to kill it in web 3.
yeah. So let's see, to like maybe condense this down. So like I was one of the first people at illroots.com. From there, I helped out some streetwear brands. But for the most part, I've always kind of been at this sort of intersection of helping people kind of connect the dots. Um, Musicians come and uh, I think that these are just regular people that want to get shit done, and along the way they make amazing art to go along with it. So specifics, if you can go back through the Ill Roots brand and find a lot of sort of the people that defined the blog era, but you'll also find a lot of misses too, right? So I think my biggest thing with it, coming from that to this, and that was a long time ago, really. I mean, we're talking pre DSPs. Um, you know, my whole thing has always been trying to find the best position for creators to create without too much of a compromise. And I've tried to do that throughout my career, whether that's under a brand or whether that's just kind of adjacent to the industry. I feel like the music industry and the fashion and just sort of what people kind of closely identify as our culture is generally opaque. And we try to, there's brands like, let's say, Earn Your Leisure that are doing this for the financial world that are really pulling the kind of hood back a little bit and, making it a little bit more transparent and giving a little bit more insight into specifics, right? So I think that can be the same thing can be had for the music industry, for the fashion industry, for all of these sort of publications that basically are fueled from our culture. And then along the way, um, yeah, along the way, you now have an opportunity to give these sort of early people around you just, if nothing else, the opportunity to invest in an asset before the majors come, if we'll keep it there. But um I think that the one thing that I'm kind of learning in this space is they're the same problems, right? So they're still the same, like you said, gatekeeper versus curation. I think you mentioned that earlier, but um, it all kind of boils down to like who gets visibility and how they get visibility, right? So um, web we don't really distinct between Web 2 and Web 3. Like I understand the identification, but for musicians specifically, you still have to do a lot of hard work uh, inside and outside of this technology. I think this just gives a better opportunity for people around you early to that have early access to you that you want to be invested in you to actually invest in you in a real tangible way and see an asset or see a return in an asset, meaning an NFT right away as well. So
You know, I have this thought where I talk about how streaming wasn't invented to pay artists. And even when you look at NFTs, like NFTs weren't invented to solve any issues that were even music related. Where you look at digital art consumption versus digital music consumption, and it's entirely different. I don't I hate to throw any platform under the bus, but I'll say that I think they all still have work to do right now to actually provide a viable music NFT structure because you hit on it. You can't just be in one particular vertical or one particular medium as a musician. You need to worry
well,
about touring and oh, no, what's up?
yeah, no. So as far as platforms go, like I think whether we're talking about Spotify or OpenSea or we're talking about more curated platforms like a catalog or a foundation. Um, at the end, it's like, if you go to OpenSea, you're basically, you're a brand getting in Walmart, right? So you could be on the front page, or you can be on the, back by the shit where they set, as seen on TV bullshit, right? You could be in either one of those places, and I think for, let's say, OpenSea, for example, I don't know their processes on getting somebody on the front page, but if that process wasn't opaque and was transparent and for people to see it, then that would help artists and creators be able to get visibility, right? And I think that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for a fair chance for anybody to get visibility, and what it comes down to is making your process transparent. And let me keep it a buck. If you look at some of these processes that it takes to maybe get on to a curated platform, meaning that could be anything. That could be a publication like a Pitchfork or a Complex. What's the process? I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I am sort of calling people out. Like, let's see the actual process it takes for somebody to get a cover story done at Time Magazine. Let's see, what's the actual process to get visibility on these big platforms. And I think that's sort of the bigger issue here, right? It's no matter the platform you're on, let's see let's bring transparency to the processes that it takes to to go from, let's say, the unsigned hype to the cover story of the source, right? Let's see the steps. Let's see what it takes. And I think the ability of making that transparent is exciting to me, right? Because you can make it better. You can make
It's insanely exciting because
yeah,
to your point, if we had the transparency, we know what that looks like. It's emails. It's somebody with some pull arranging for this artist that they just brought in. And let me not say that's the only way, but the majority of them, if you were to reverse engineer it and see how these cover stories come about, it's not a lot of it is not merit based. A lot of it is either hype based or network based. And if we had that transparency, people would be forced to remove that that overwhelming disparity in the amount of merit based versus network based
right,
attention that's given.
right,
And I like your point with OpenSea, but I would still even argue with music where you can't really go on OpenSea and listen to music in any efficient way. And then you think of it as a consumer, it'd be dope to want to collect the music NFT, but then where do you go and play all of your music NFTs at? How do you actually enjoy this collection that you're building up? And to me, that's a problem that will get solved. It's just not one that I believe any of the platforms have addressed in any meaningful way so far.
yeah.
And that's,
Well, I mean, I think visibility, and I think you know, uh, just editorial in general in the space. We've I've come across a couple of different conversations about we need to, can we get a Web3 blog in here, really? And I don't really think that's the issue, right? I think it's, a lot of the platforms, they haven't really answered editorial. They haven't really answered discovery in a real meaningful way. One of my favorite places to look, and AJ will tell you, is the App Store, right? The App Store has, if you look on your phone right now, you have an iPhone, you look on it, they tell stories about apps, right? You don't see like just a string of apps right away. When it opens up like a magazine, and I credit a lot of that to Smokey Fontaine. Used to be at Giant and is at Apple now, and his sort of transition to helping them transition from just being like a marketplace to an actual place where you can see the stories behind the developers, you can see the stories behind the actual apps. You can still see leaderboards, you can still see these things, but as far as like a marketplace that I think does it very right, as far as telling stories, I think the Apple App Store does a great job of that, and the numbers back that up too. I don't know them off the top of my head, but there's an article out that facilitates that.
you know, I I would agree 1,000% there. I think the issue becomes in a lot of these conversations, well, is that gatekeeping? And we touched on it a little bit earlier, but there is a distinction between curation and gatekeeping. Like curation is needed. Gatekeeping is not allowing opportunities to people based off of factors they have essentially no control over. Curation is being able to go through and sort and recognize, like, and even with that, like, if you have a platform that you trust to curate, like if you trust the, well, Apple has a monopoly, so that might not be the best one for pure curation. But some of these other music platforms that, like you said, just have it, you go there and you see everything, they can curate it. You don't have to worry about, oh, are you going to alienate people by giving somebody else visibility that you and the community deem to be worthy of that. And to your point, if you're just transparent about the process, it becomes less of a scary thing, like, oh, they're playing favorites or they're not letting me get the shine. It's like, no, we have our process. This is how you can get this visibility. This is how you can end up on the front page. We can tell more of a story with your music, with your content, and allow more people to connect with you. And so, yeah, I mean, that wasn't, I don't know, I don't have like a specific question there, but I
Yeah,
think that
no,
curatorial element just
yeah,
needs to be separated from gatekeeping.
yeah. I think we hear gatekeeping a lot in the space. And the way I look at it is it's just a way to sort of brand poor submission process, right? It's a way to identify a poor submission process, and really like the way we look at things is like we don't just, we develop all of our IP, we develop everything that we're doing with really intention, right? We don't do anything that's frivolous. We experiment with a lot of things, but at the core of it, we have sort of like a North Star, right? And that's making sure that whatever we celebrate or whatever we put on the front page is a direct reflection of our community, right? And the only way to really do that is to create very clear processes on ways to to get that amplification, right? And on our end, or as the head of content on my end, and AJ as the founder, like our real role is to create these processes and then sort of facilitate these higher levels of amplification and frame bigger and better things for the people that our community identifies, right? And um, on the opposite end of that, it's also helping our people that are here, that are bringing the music, that are digging, that are doing the legwork. It helps them to identify their taste, right? Because somebody who constantly brings good, let's say, good rap music to the show, we can look at them and say, for example, John Gotti um, knows Southern rap music really well. How do I know? He has a track record, right? So the sooner we're able to get those track records on chain, now it's less of an opaque structure where you have to kind of, like you said, explain your history, right? You can just go to the track record on an index. You can see the cosigns. You can see all of the history that their curatorial history that they've done, and then from there, it's less of a, well, what have you done and how have you done, and sort of like it just clears a lot of what we've looked at right now that kind of defines gatekeeping, um, and it kind of gets rid of that term, because then you can actually see what these people, how these people have gone through the system, right? So I just don't think there's no protocol for curation, and that's the reason why we're here.
And it's needed, man. It really is. Yo, G, you've touched on some really fire points. And I'm excited for music to get its shine in this space. I believe that the more curated, the more curation that happens here, the higher the bar will be for the quality of music that everyone hypes up as well. Because I think that not, I'll say this, like some things aren't for me. I think that the
Mm.
quality of music in this space can be raised. The bar can be raised. There is
So
still
yeah, no. So there's something I do disagree there, though. I don't think it's necessarily just more. I think it's the quality of the curator, right? Like the way we identify taste is by other people validating that taste, right? And you want other people who also have a track record of identifying um, great, you know, submissions or great music or great whatever, um, to say, yes, I fuck with that, and kind of validate your taste, right? We can tell somebody, I have great taste in music, right? Or you can run into five of my closest friends, and they can tell you, oh, Hallway has good taste in music. You're going to believe the latter first before you believe me, right? And I think um, the sooner
especially
we,
if you have mutuals as well.
yeah, of course, yeah, and to me, like the cosign is only as valid as the person giving it, right? So on our side, we are very, very meticulous in making sure that the curators that are here align with align with all of our values, align with our um, sort of the bar. You know, we don't just like I said in the beginning. It's only good energy allowed, right? So we talk to and we start at that sort of genesis and move outward from that with everything that we do. So it makes it very easy to then identify people who, you know, uh, want to work and have good energy. And if you check both those boxes, then it's kind of a no brainer, right? It's getting rid of that process that where um, you're a little less honest with people, and as sort of like a way to kind of shield how you really feel about something, right? Like everybody in here, if you were in a if we were in an actual room with everybody here and somebody had something in their teeth, would you tell them that they had some shit in their teeth, or would you say, I don't really know this person, so I don't want to tell them? No, you would tell that person they had something in their fucking teeth. You wouldn't want them walking around taking pictures with fucking, shit between their teeth, right? So really, it's sort of just like a general rule of thumb for us that like you want to treat every sort of space the way you would if you were in real life. And that's the way it translates. That's the reason why whatever we do in real life for a float will translate so well, because we don't change, right? There's if you send me an email or you call me or you get in a jitsi or however the fuck, you're gonna run into the same person, right? Um, and it's just that radical transparency that alleviates all of the sort of gatekeeping feel, and that a lot of people aren't doing. But that's fine. I think that you have to see the differences in order to understand and appreciate um, quality people.
Yo, hallway, man. This is, I don't want to say better than our first conversation. I'm not even going to qualify them, but this has been eye opening, even for me, just hearing some more of the ethos behind what you guys do, especially after seeing a lot of it live. So before I let you get out of here, can you talk about what's next for Float?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, we're expanding our live float show. Like I said before, we are looking at other cities. IRL events are a big deal for us. Beyond that, we're launching Float.xyz, where you can come and submit your picks. You can stamp your picks, and we're in the beta stages of that now. We use that as our submission process for our float live or our live float show. Excuse me. And really, like I said, it's making curation as transparent and as much of a valid I don't know the best word, but yeah, like just making curation really at the forefront, better, you know, and like we're working with amazing people. Shout out to some of the developers working with us, Mikey, Uncle Mikey, Zach, and then any of the people that have kind of given us feedback. Um, we really just want to make the submission process and make the sort of curation protocol something that anybody can use, right? And I think the sooner we do that, the better off the space will be, and the better off any sort of media will be for creators.
So let's say I'm someone that has, in my own opinion, 30 fire playlist. I'm the person that's always sending the playlist out to my homies,
Mm-hmm.
friends, and people look to me already as a curator of sorts. I hear about Float as a curator. What is the best way to get involved?
So yeah, the best way is to come to our live float show on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Gather. We put the tweet up all the time. Try to stay active there. And then let's let's see if that taste that you speak of is valid with our community, right? Let's validate your taste, right? If you're that guy in that friend group, then let's see if everybody else within the community agrees with that. Let's see if you bring the winning song for the night. And from there, that's how we dig in with people. I hear this a lot, right? I hear like, I'm an artist, or I run a playlist for a streaming place or whatever, and I want to get involved. And I always say the same thing. It's like, just show up to our live, show up to our thing on Tuesday, and we it's kind of like, we deal with people who we know, right? Um, our name is specific, is very intentionally hard to pronounce, because then we know if right, if you know us or not. The same with our logos. Everything is a little bit harder
Logo's
to
fucking fire, but keep going.
yeah, everything's a little harder to pronounce and harder to look at. But like I said, we do that intentionally because if right? All the coolest things that I've ever run into in my entire life have always been a little bit guised in this sort of like, what is this? Oh, fuck, this is tight, but I didn't really get it in the beginning type of thing. But, knowing the nuances and knowing kind of like just the little idiosyncrasies of brands are what make brands really cool. And as far as Phlote goes, that's kind of where we're at.
So curators, this is the place to be. I really feel like Web3 is going to offer an entirely new career option for people with taste. And I know that sounds very, very
Yeah,
general,
no,
but
okay.
it's
So there's people in here that we consider close. So, what we're doing is, we're looking at a curator as a real job, right? So when we talk about, come over here and put your taste in here, and put your songs in here, and hopefully you win. We keep track of and we index all of these submissions from week to week now, and we'll be able to see what you co-sign. We'll be able to see all these things, and as your track record grows and you get more co-signs within our system, it's going to unlock real world benefits, right? So I think we see a lot of these sort of tokens and utilities. Utility is thrown around a lot in this fucking space, but what is it really, right? Well, on our side, when we think about curators and we think about the people that are really doing the legwork, and we look at how DAOs are operating and how there's sort of a fall off in engagement and so forth, I think it's real life utility, right? So for us, we want to offer real life utility, whether that's being able to get a base income off of our system. That's after a certain number of cosigns, being able to access healthcare, whether that's a stipend, whether that's some sort of you know some sort of ability to have access to kind of life changing things that people actually need. Not that they you know, um, I like a T-shirt just like the next person. I like cool shit just like the next person. But the reality is, in order for these places to actually be taken seriously in this space, you have to offer utility that changes someone's life. We've seen a very clear case study with Bored Ape, where they gave that sort of, if you buy into this, you have access to make a bag out of it however you please, and they're almost a $4 billion company in under a year, right? The gaming industry has been open source for so many years, and they're 4 times as big as the music industry, right? So for all of the people that give us buzzwords like community and culture, and they do a lot of talking. Um, that's great that you're bringing an emphasis, but the reality is there needs to be real life changing utilities in the space for it to change.
Man, let me find out my playlist can get my healthcare covered. Psh. As I was saying, Float bringing real, tangible ish to Web3, new ideas. Hallway, this conversation has been incredible. I cannot wait to clip this and share it. So many gems were dropped. We'll be tuning in for more live Float shows. The Float live. Wait, damn it. No.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah,
order? What's the
yeah,
order?
yeah.
It's the
Live,
live
yeah,
Float show.
yeah, live float
Yes, the
show.
live Float
Seven,
show.
yep, 7 p.m. Tuesday Eastern. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Show up with a bag of good music to submit, and if you win, we will cover you. We will mint you on catalog as quickly as you want, and we will cover all the fees that come along with that, including gas, including whatever you need to kind of get you in there. And we've also, we've done this for glass. So we work with Dio at Glass. And up to this point, I can say that everybody has sold from this, right? Everybody that's gone through the system has sold out of their NFTs. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that our community is able to identify um, the people that we should work with, and then at the very base level, they're able to then not just sell, but then get into this platform that to a curated platform that they couldn't get into before. And that's why I'm very comfortable in saying that our curation protocol that we're building is something that can be and in my eyes will be adopted by every sort of major company that wants editorial to be there, to be the top notch, right? So like I said, I'm very, very, very happy with the way things are going with the live float show. We're always trying to make it better. So yeah, show up Tuesdays 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're here for feedback too. Hallway@float.co. Hit me with an email. I'm open. If you see something or any way that we can get better, and you have any sort of ideas, criticism, comments, concerns, drop me a line, hit me in a DM. We're here to make sure that our process is continually getting better every day. And yeah, like I said, I'm just here to get better, and I want to make the best process.
Y'all are going to remain consistently transparent, and that will be why you succeed in this space. You have planted an amazing money tree here today, and I'm going to love watching it grow. Hallway, before you get out of here, I ask every guest two questions. The first question is, what is your seed phrase? And now I know seed phrase is standard for your account recovery key. I just think that seed phrase is an improper term for something that's so important. Where when you hear seed phrase, it doesn't sound like, hey, if I lose this, I lose access to all my crypto, all my NFTs. So on Money Trees, we're planting ideas, planting seeds. We're repurposing seed phrase to be a slogan, quote, saying, motto, lyric that you live by, that embodies your approach to your career, to your craft, to what it is that you're building. So, Hallway, what is your seed phrase?
Yeah, is only good energy allowed.
There it is. And my second question is we're going to list the one of one Money Trees number 36 note up for sale after this episode. What shall the buy now price be?
Mm, mm. Does it have to be a buy now?
Yes, I've done. Well, I mean, I guess not. I guess it doesn't. No, no. The guest determined the price. So yesterday they decided that they wanted that to be the first free one. So that one's free. Today it can be however you. I'm listing it on Zora, so I'm pretty sure those are the two options. It's buy now or set at auction. I haven't checked with their V3 protocol. I've only done buy now with these, but yes, it does not have to be buy now. It can be whatever you choose.
Yeah, yeah. If you can set it as an auction, set it as let's see, set it as let's see, March 5th would be 4 5. Yeah, set it as 0.45. Right, it's my son's birthday, so
There it is, 0.45. Yeah, man. Thank you for coming through. This has been fire.